everyone will die, including me. That chilling line drags you into the gothic nightmare that is Lord of the Mysteries, the web novel many hail as the Bloodborne of literature. And with its anime adaptation about to break the internet, now is the perfect time to show you why millions consider this to be the best web novel on the planet. We're going to go over what makes this gothic fantasy so unlike anything you've read. Lord of the Mysteries is a Chinese web novel by cuttlefish that loves diving that has captivated millions, blending steampunk, Lovecraftian horror and Chinese fantasy in a Victorian era world. It's essentially the Bloodborne of Webnovel. Imagine Sherlock Holmes investigating cosmic horrors in gaslit alleys. That's the vibe of the novel. But how deep does the rabbit hole go? The novel unfolds in an alternate world reminiscent of Victorian Great Britain, complete with smoky factories, cobblestone streets, and strict class divisions, although suffused with the supernatural. This unique Victorian-era setting immediately captivated me. It's exactly the aesthetic I was yearning for, superbly executed and beautifully written. Hell, I remember the first time I got hooked into this. I look at the novel's name and I think, that's a badass name. I look into it and I find a Victorian-era novel, which basically takes place in a Victorian-era Britain with supernatural powers relying on deceit, shooting revolvers and shit. Sign me up. I got hooked immediately. And I remember the first time I met my girlfriend of 3 years is when I started to read the novel, so it has a special place in my heart. I like to picture some towns of the novel, like Yarnam from Bloodborne. They have, after all, similar architecture, weapons, and an eerie 1800s atmosphere. This is a world of both science and mysticism. One page might describe cannons, airships, and electric lights. The next, potions, tarot cards, and secret rituals. The author masterfully fuses Lovecraftian horror, SCP-like mystery, Victorian intrigue, and steampunk passion into a setting brimming with dark wonder. It's one of those novels where you just can't put it down. It hooks you in. One of my favorite parts is how Lord of the Mysteries carries a Lovecraftian breath. Unfathomable outer deities slumber in the depths of this spirit world. And the further you dig in, the more you sense something vast and terrifying looming over humanity. The result is a setting both familiar and eerily other. It feels alive beyond the page. As readers, we constantly sense that the grand forces are moving just beyond the horizon. The world building is exquisitely built. You can almost smell the coal smoke and hear the carriage wheel clattering at midnight. Each arc of the story peels back another layer of this universe. From the eerie tranquility of little coastal Tingen to the bustling metropolis of Backland, with its smoke-choked slums and aristocratic manners. And this is just the gothic canvas. Now, who is the man thrust into this world? At the heart of this mysterious world is Klein Moretti. He doesn't originally start as Klein Moretti. He starts as Zhao Mingrui, a normal man living in 21st century Earth, who, in an attempt to increase his luck, performs a luck enhancement ritual, and in the very next moment, he transmigrates into the body of Klein Moretti, a down-on-his-luck university graduate in Tingen City. With only fragmented memories of Klein's life, he is forced to navigate an onslaught of mysteries from the moment he opens his eyes. This is how he first woke up in this world. Just imagine it for a second. You wake up disoriented, your head pounding from a bullet hole that's slowly healing itself. Pale moonlight reveals an unfamiliar study. On the desk lies a revolver freshly fired and a notebook stained with fresh blood, scrawled with desperate handwriting, and it reads, "Everyone will die, including me." That's exactly how Lord of the Mysteries plunges you into its gothic nightmare. A web novel, I can only compare it to the Bloodborne of fantasy fiction. But this scenario beckons many questions. Why did Klein wake up in a dead man's body? And how is he supposed to survive in a world where secrets are deadlier than swords? Answering these questions takes us deeper into his journey. From the very start, Klein is cautious, yet resourceful, scrambling to convincingly play a role he barely understands, because after all, he's thrust into an unknown world after an apparent suicide. He is flooded with memories from Klein's life, his sister he lives with, his older brother who supports them, barely keeping them alive, always at work. And now he must not let his mask slip, lest he be struck down by some unfathomable horror that found out he's not from this world. And so, like an actor thrust onto a stage without a script, he carefully masks his panic with methodical thinking and clever improvisation, a motif of masks and performance that defines Klein's entire journey. His survival relies on disguise and wit. And when an attempt to reproduce the occult ritual that brought him here goes awry, Klein is yanked into a mysterious grey fog, a domain he unexpectedly becomes the lord of. There, he accidentally summons two other people, Audrey Hall and Alger Wilson. They find themselves seated around a big round table, with fog obscuring their identities. Now faced with these startled strangers, who believe they've contacted some great mystical being, Klein seizes the chance. Swallowing his own confusion, he dons the persona of a mighty and enigmatic figure called the Fool. In that moment, the timid, bewildered young man puts on a figurative mask and becomes a secret power player. This is the birth of the Terror Club, the clandestine group that will drive much of the plot, and is also why Lord of the Mysteries feels so fresh. This becomes one of the core parts of the novel. Our hero isn't overpowered or blessed by fate. He survives by outthinking and outacting the dangers around him. It's honestly thrilling to watch. As the Fool, Klein establishes weekly seances above the grey fog with the two he has first summoned, and they all take code names corresponding to tarot cards. Audrey Hall takes up the codename Justice, and she is a curious high society lady dabbling in the occult. And Mr. Alger takes the codename The Hanged Man, and he is a weathered Navy officer with many secrets. Many more members will join later, eventually filling a full table of the major arcana. But even from the start, this tarot club is a brilliant storytelling device. It's a cool concept. It's a secret society that exists literally outside space and time, convening in the mysterious foggy realm Klein controls. In that otherworldly chamber, the members swap information, trade magical items, and help each other across great distances, all without revealing their true identities. For Klein, who is far weaker than the godlike image he projects, the Tarot Club becomes both a sanctuary and a stage. In the safety of that hazy, candlelit room above the fog, he can carefully dispense knowledge and favors as the Fool, pulling puppet strings in the background. But it's also a stage where he must perform flawlessly. Any slips in his godlike facade could be fatal. The tension this provokes, the tension of this masquerade, is delicious for the reader. One part that I find is the cherry on top of the cake is Klein even leverages knowledge from his past life to maintain his mystique. For instance, he discovers a hidden journal written in English. Yes, English. The lost diary of a legendary emperor who, it turns out, was another transmigrator from Earth generations ago. And since no one else in this world can read English, they speak other languages, Klein's casual ability to peruse those diary pages during a tarot meeting leaves the others awestruck. They assume the Fool can decipher ancient, unfathomable texts at a glance, bolstering his image as an otherworldly sage. In truth, we know it's simply because Klein is an earthling, but moments like this add a sly humor to the facade. We, the readers, know he's just a nervous 22-year-old playing pretend, but to others he's an unfathomable being above the grey fog, possibly even one of the hidden gods of this world. This leads to many speculations by part of the Tarot Club, which play into Klein's hands. They explain things to cover up for him pretty much in their suppositions, which I find hilarious to read about. Watching Klein maintain this balancing act, which is answering the Tarot Club's members' earnest questions in cryptic, wise-sounding ways, while secretly learning from them, is as suspenseful as any battle. The protagonist's greatest weapon isn't brute strength, but presentation. Crucially, the Tarot Club also serves as a microcosm of the world's struggle for power, survival, and meaning. Each member comes from a different walk of life: a noblewoman, a sailor, a soldier, and a detective, so on and so forth. And through their eyes, we glimpse many corners of this universe. It's through the tarot meetings that we hear of events in far-flung regions, an ingenious way for the author to expand the scope beyond Klein's immediate surroundings while keeping the narrative cohesive. And as the story progresses, new arcs open new horizons. We go from Tingen City and its humble beginnings to the imperial capital Backland, which is basically London. Later, the Tarot Club's influence reaches remote colonies, sunken ruins, and the high seas, giving the novel an ever-expanding exploratory feel. You genuinely feel like an adventurer, and exploring this world is a wonder you will love. It's super interesting. I can't explain you in words, you have to feel it, but the world building, the fucking world building in this novel is so peak. Almost no other novel immerses you in its world building so much as Lord of the Mysteries. And just imagine, like, the houses are Victorian London, he's wearing suits. Bro, imagine fighting cosmic horrors in a suit using a cane and a monocle. You tip the top hat and you fuck it up, bro. That's peak design. I can't find the words to express how much I like this. You have to read it. Go read it if you haven't already. What makes this story so unforgettable is that sense of a grand, interconnected mystery unfolding piece by piece before your eyes. Few scenes are as consistently as brilliant as the Tarot Club meetings. They anchor the novel's mystique and emotions, and in equal measure, you hear of unknown corners of the world which were lost thousands of years ago. Unfathomable Lovecraftian horrors crushing humanity on those remote corners. Spies in the capital, the drama, it's insane. You'll love it. Lord of the Mysteries, however, also distinguishes itself with one of the most fascinating power systems in modern fantasy. It's a system that combines arcane occultism with almost scientific logic. You see, in this world, those who gain supernatural abilities are called Beyonders, pretty sick, and their powers come from ingesting special potions distilled from magical ingredients. But these aren't a typical, oh, I take it, I have the power potions. Each potion carries the risk of driving its drinker insane or mutating them into a monster if they cannot digest it properly. You see, these potions are made from magical ingredients of long forlorn beings and gods. One misstep and you fall prey to the altar gods, to a fate possibly worse than death. And to avoid this, enter the ingenious concept of the acting method. Essentially, every Beyonder follows a pathway, a sequence of powers themed across a particular archetype, like the Seer for example. These pathways are arranged in sequences ranked from the weakest, sequence 9, all the way to sequence 0, which is virtual godhood. Basically, it's apotheosis. You start at 9, slightly stronger than an average man, to basically a god, which is sequence 0. For example, Klein's own pathway is the Seer pathway. Quite fitting. He starts at a lowly Seer at sequence 9, then advances to sequence 8, Clown, spoiler alert, then sequence 7, Magician, and so on and so forth. Each step bringing new abilities and new dangers as he climbs towards the apex. But raw power comes at a price. Like I've said, without the proper mindset, the potion will overwhelm you. But how do you master that power that's trying to devour your mind? You see, Beyonder potions aren't just magical drugs. They are invitations to wear a mask. Each one pushes you closer to something inhuman. But if you can wear that mask convincingly, like an actor immersed in a role, you gain power without losing yourself. That is the secret to climbing the supernatural ladder in this world. But if you forget you're only acting, you risk becoming a monster the world always feared. And only once the potion is fully digested can you safely move on and consume the next. This idea lends an amazing psychological depth to the power system. To grow stronger, Klein must essentially play parts. He has to act like the Seer, calm, insightful, prescient, in order to not be consumed by the serious potion. We readers get to see him struggle with what each new power is doing to his psyche, adding a layer of tension to every power-up. It's occultism with a veneer of rationality. You see why I like it so much. By treating madness as a thing to be managed through rules and methods, the story grounds its magic in a kind of psychological realism. All of this underscores the theme that every game in Power comes at a cost. This isn't a story where heroes power up without consequences. Here, every act of survival leaves a mark. The fragility of the mind, the ever-present risk of losing control, keeps even powerful characters humble and paranoid. Oh, the paranoia. Every character here is paranoid. They live on a knife's edge. They can't chill. It's always constant tension, fearing for their lives. And for the reader, this creates incredible suspense. We're constantly worried for Klein's sanity and soul as he progresses along his dangerous path. And what's truly brilliant is how logic and earned the progression feels. You don't have those scuffed incongruities with the power system, nor easy solutions, nor easy plot armors. Klein approaches becoming a Beyonder almost like a scholarly pursuit. He researches old journals like the cryptic Roselle Diary, hunts down formula for potions, and conducts careful experiments. The story often reads like a detective novel as much as a fantasy, which is aptly given because Klein eventually becomes a detective by trade. Shout out to Sherlock Moriarty. We readers get the satisfaction of solving puzzles alongside the protagonist, deciphering coded manuscripts, deducing the weaknesses of monsters, and guessing which historical figure corresponds to which hidden god, and so on. Cuttlefish writes in a meticulous, foreshadow-heavy style, where the smallest clues often build to major revelations. As the narrative layers peel back, you realize Lord of the Mysteries isn't just throwing cool ideas at you. It's constructing a huge, interconnected mystery that you're actually trying to unravel. And when those payoffs land, damn, the moments hit hard. It's the kind of story that richly rewards paying attention, rereading every chapter, and searching for hidden clues. It's honestly delightful. And while Lord of the Mysteries features its share of thrilling action and creeping horror, it distinguishes itself most with an oppressive sense of tension. The feeling our protagonist is always walking on a knife's edge. Because from the moment he becomes a Beyonder, he's on the bottom of the food chain, and he's new to this world after all. He must hide the extent of his abilities and the existence of his mysterious above-the-fog powers. Because if the wrong people or entities notice him, he's dead. There are shadowy organizations, groups of Beyonders, terrorists, and at least dozens of factions with their own pathways and deadly agents. And as Klein climbs higher, the beings watching from the shadows grow far more dangerous. Klein mostly survives, not because he's the strongest in the room, but because he's careful and clever and fucking paranoid. He cultivates paranoia as a habit that borders on an art form. He's the type to carry a stack of prepared charms and set up contingency plans for his contingency plans. When reading, you quickly learn to expect the unexpected. An innocuous conversation might later turn out to have saved Klein's life because he gleaned a subtle hint of an impending betrayal. We watch him tiptoe around powerful figures, holding our breath and hoping they don't sense the stray lamb in their midst. This dynamic comes to a head spectacularly in the climactic arc of Book 1. And with all of that said, it's no exaggeration to say Lord of the Mysteries has become a phenomenon in the web novel world. In fact, the series became so popular that a sequel, Lord of the Mysteries Circle of Inevitability, was launched not long ago. Though that's beyond the scope of this discussion. In the end, Lord of the Mysteries is more than a sum of its parts, but it's also an experience to have. It's the feeling of sitting in a candlelit study as thunder rolls outside, turning pages with equal parts of dread and excitement. So, if you're looking for a story that will keep you guessing, keep you scared, and emotionally invested all at once, then trust me, go read Lord of the Mysteries. Hell, if you just like to read, go read Lord of the Mysteries. If you want a setting of steam, machinery, and magic, go read Lord of the Mysteries. If you want something with Cthulhuism and Lovecraftian horror and SCP-like elements, go read Lord of the Mysteries. And so, if you do read the novel and you like it, make sure to please subscribe and leave a like, because it really helps me out. So, see you next time, guys. Prepare to be mystified.